Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at The Last Showgirl. New Pam Anderson features out, directed by Gia Coppola. It's kind of a banger. Stick around for the review. It's good stuff. I'm really excited to talk about Last Showgirl. Also going to talk about the new Wallace and Gromit movie on Netflix, Vengeance, Most Fowl. You might think Off Script is too bold for Wallace and Gromit. Not so. We like Aardman animation. I like Aardman. Andy was kind enough to watch this movie for me so we could talk about it. It's also good. It's back-to-back good movies. We're excited to talk about it on the show this week. Before we get to them, we need to talk about our most anticipated films of the year. It's going to be our middle segment here. Some things coming up. We'll run through what's going to be good in 2025, what may not be so good in 2025, and what we personally are most excited about. Before we get to all that, we need to talk about the news. And before we get to the news, Andy, I got to know, what did you watch this week? What did you watch that wasn't the two movies we were doing for the podcast? Anything casual and any good stuff?
Yeah, so I got together with a couple of friends who are Lord of the Rings fans to watch the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim animated feature that came out in December. It kind of didn't find an audience, bit of a flop, so we thought we'd take a look at it. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's too long because it's like 2 hours, 15 minutes. It could definitely cut down. And it has the Star Wars prequel problems where everything has to... It does a lot of key jangling of like, hey, remember... Gondor, remember this thing? Oh, this is who Helm's Deep gets named after. Helm Hammerhand. We renamed it for it. There's tons of that like stuff like how did this get its name? How did that get its, lots of nods to Lord of the Rings. It was fine. It's fun. It's a little bit too long, but I would recommend it.
It's a shame. War of the Rohirrim was on my most anticipated list last year, which is funny because we're doing our most anticipated for 2025 in this episode. But I was really looking forward to seeing what it was going to be. Like when we first talked about it in January last year, we talked about what it could be. We knew it was animated. We knew it was coming from Warner Brothers. It was an official film release. They said it was going to be theatrical. We figured maybe it would get thrown to streaming. It's finally out. It just does not seem to have made the splash they were looking for it. And it's a shame. I know Peter Jackson was attached to produce. Would recommend for theater, streaming. What do you think? Quick recommendation?
Yeah, definitely for streaming. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, definitely. Like I said, it alludes to the War of the Rings takes place a couple of 100 years beforehand. There's like, oh, what are these goblins or these orcs doing? They're looking for rings, apparently. There's stuff like that that I just kind of roll my eyes at. But the main story works well. It's a lot of fun. It's a bit more Game of Thronesy, where there's warring tribes for it to control. I keep saying Gondor. It's not Gondor. It's the one that's right next to them. But anyways, but yeah, would recommend.
Not to sound like I don't know. I want to sound like I talk about movies when we do the movie podcast, but I don't know what this other movie you watched is. What is this?
So this is real. This is real obscure. I watched a movie called Shadow, which is a Chinese film that it came up on my Amazon, recommended, and it's a 2018 kind of Chinese court drama, which means like period piece. And the only reason I watched it, it's by director Zhang Yimou, who did 2004's Hero and House of Flying Daggers. And so he's kind of done a lot of these wushu martial arts films. And so it was recommended to me by the algorithm. So I took a look at it. Very strange. The whole thing, it's in black and white, except for everyone's faces and skin is in color. So it's a weird artistic choice. And it has to do with warring cities, and they're trying to take the city back. And it's a little, again, Game of Thronesy. There's deception. The main thing, the commander has like a secret like twin or a secret double he's swapping it in and out to fool the king and stuff like that. Some good action scenes. Too long, goes on forever. It was okay. Would not recommend.
I appreciate. Yeah, but you're warning people of it here on the show. Like you bother to platform it to say not worth the time. You could skip it. I appreciate that. I like the obscure stuff. Shadow. I've never heard of it. The coloring technique sounds wild. Like only skin is. I don't know what that is, but that's interesting. I get why you checked it out. I watched one movie outside of what we had to for the show this week, Green Room, the 2015 film from Jeremy Saulnier. Last few weeks ago, we covered Rebel Ridge on the show, and so I had Green Room just kind of kicking around on Netflix. Like, hey, you watched Rebel Ridge on Netflix? You should check this out. Dude, I popped on Green Room at like 1 a.m. the other night. I couldn't sleep.
Oh my
It's
God.
90 minutes. I just thought I'll just throw it on and just kind of fall asleep on the couch, right? Get cozy under my blanket.
Oh my God.
It'll be great. No, dude, I was glued to that movie. I was up till 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't stop watching it. Like, it gets so intense. And I've seen it before. I knew it got intense, but like, it really is a banger. Like, that movie's so cool. Like, small and intimate and low budget and smart and sharp. Green Room rocks. Y'all should check out Green Room. Would recommend.
I think I've never seen it, and I've avoided it because I've heard it is so intense. Can you give us a quick plot synopsis? Like what's this all about?
Yes, a total off the grid punk rock band is traveling the Pacific Northwest, picking up garage band shows and basement shows wherever they can. They don't do any social media. They don't tell anybody where they're going. They're just this underground punk band led by these four basically 20 somethings who are total burnouts. And they take a gig at this like garage out in the middle of the woods in the Pacific Northwest, out in the middle of nowhere. And they find out that it's run by a bunch of supremacist skinheads, which is not really a problem for punk, but they kind of piss some of them off. And then on their way out, they witness a murder. When two skinheads get into it, and suddenly they are not allowed to leave. And it's like, well, hold on a second, guys, you stay here a second. We're going to call the cops and get this sorted out. And they're like, no, we need to get out of here, man. And when things turn sideways, they manage to lock themselves in this sort of like green room area they have in front of their stage or behind their stage. And they have a standoff with the people who are running the place to try to get out of there. And a guy who's trapped in there with them. Anton Yelchin's in it. It's one of his great roles. Couple other, like, everybody in the
Patrick
band
Stewart
I've seen before.
is in it.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart is in it. He's kind of like the leader of the skinheads. It was a big performance for him because it was so different and odd for him. Anyway, tons about Green Room rocks. You should check out Green Room. It's super good, and I would recommend it for anybody on the show. I got to stop talking about Green Room. I got to move on to news. Oh my gosh, because we got a lot to do on this show this week. But would recommend. Green Room's cool. First story this week. I should have told you, Andy, I was moving stuff around. I'm sorry I didn't, but I just wanted to talk about this one first. The Oscars nominations are getting extended and delayed, maybe. And there was a luncheon that was canceled. What's going on at the Oscars? Are they delaying the show or just some of it? What is this?
So what's being delayed are the announcements, which were supposed to take place on Monday. And it initially got pushed to, so that would have been Monday the 20th. And then they got pushed 2 days to Wednesday, and now they've been pushed again to Friday. And so we're just going to have to wait. They did that so they could extend voting. So we'll have to wait till next Friday to make announcements. The show so far has not been delayed or canceled. Will still happen on March 2nd, I believe, but they're given more time because of the wildfires and the kind of devastation happening right now, so that people can have time to try and see movies if they still can and vote. Surprisingly, we'll talk about this a little bit later, movie going has not declined in LA despite the wildfires going. Like, the numbers are still good over there, so people are still going to the movies.
Yeah, definitely still need an escape. Yes, there was an official statement released by Academy CEO Bill Kramer and President Janet Yang. Part of that said, quote, "Due to the still active fires in the Los Angeles area, we feel it is necessary to extend our voting period and move the date of our nominations announcement to allow additional time for our members." Very thoughtful and considered, dude. Like, I hear it's pretty rough out there. I think, we all see news every summer that there's wildfires in California. These seem to be real bad. They're all bad, but like these seem real rough. So like, probably for the best. I'm a little surprised they haven't moved the event. I'm sure it's a lot of work. It's less than 50 days out. So like, I know it's a hassle with broadcast rights and venue and whatnot to actually move the Oscars. But boy, if they're going to move it, they're probably going to decide in the next like couple weeks. Cause this is maybe the start of like a couple of dominoes that need to fall to get things to move around. Like, it is crazy that movie going has not declined in LA. Like, again, like you said, you'd think it would kind of fall off, but people still like going to the movies, man. Still what it's about out there, I think. Yeah.
So we'll be back on, depending on when the nominations come out. We were going to be back next week with them. We'll probably have to wait another week before we can talk about nominations.
It's gonna be contentious too, man. Like I'm still hearing heat about the Golden Globes and how could Amelia Perez have won, and it's a whole thing. We covered that movie on the show, by the way. It's a fine movie. It's a fine movie. Anyway, another story from a different side of streaming and film watching. Disney, Fox, and Warner Bros. Discovery are scrapping a sports streamer. Venu, which venue, probably venue.
Venue, I think venue.
Venue, yeah, feels like one of the many streamers that like you never heard of and has a weird name like 2B or Freevee or Poodoo. What do you know about this one, Andy?
Oh, it reminds me of the the meme of like, oh, it's available on Duty. No, it's available on TV.
Yeah.
No, it's a horror.
Download
like,
PV right now.
Yeah, that's what it is. So about I guess almost a year ago, Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers had come together for a sports app called Venue, where you could watch basically anything but NFL games were going to be on there, and that was going to be a real test to see if that was even going to work. But they were shortly sued by Fubo, which is a real service, a sports streamer, for monopoly reasons, antitrust, running afoul of antitrust laws. And so they've reworked the deal and they've agreed to just kind of work with Fubo, which I guess I'm laughing at the name. They've agreed to work with them for distribution, and they've said, we're just going to work with the existing distribution and not create new distribution. So that app is dead on arrival before it could even come out. It was supposed to come out in the fall, in time for fall football. It did not. So it looks like it's been scrapped entirely, and they're instead going to wheel and deal with Fubo.
God bless every venture capitalist in Silicon Valley that ever decided to fund some kind of project with a weird, like, 4-letter name with a couple vowels and consonants in there. Like, oh, it'll be memorable. We'll call it Fubo and Venue. And yeah, like, nobody can keep up with these things, dude. That's a bummer for Venue. I'm sure Disney and Fox and Warner Bros. Discovery are not hurting for sports streaming rights, but it's lucrative, dude. And I know we don't talk about television a lot on this show, but as far as sports broadcasting is concerned, I cannot begin to understand how complicated the streaming rights are to games and locals and blackout dates and which franchise owns the rights to stream. It's a nightmare. So while there is a lot of money in there's a lot of money changing hands, a lot of money to be made. I don't know how any of these guys start to really wander into that space, except Fox, right? Who obviously already has some sports broadcasting rights. I don't know. I'd say that, and then Disney's got ESPN, for God's sake. I forget they got them, and I'm sure Warner Bros. Discovery has some heat somewhere too. Bummer for Venue, right? Before it could even open, the venue is closed.
So I think it's CBS and maybe NBC have basically are the big players in sports, and they're kind of the last bastion of cable TV. If the streamers figure out a way to get their hands on sports and be able to stream sports live and it works and everyone's happy and everyone gets paid, like that will be the end of cable TV probably. But we're a long way from that. A lot of those deals, like they just get renewed. They've had these deals for decades. So that's probably not going anywhere soon, but eventually we'll see where it goes. That would be the probably nail in the coffin for cable.
I'm not like a sports guy by any means. I'm definitely like a film bro, but sports fans deserve better. Like hot take. Shouldn't even be a hot take. It's lukewarm take. Y'all deserve better. Y'all deserve better than having to figure out whether your content's streaming on Fubo or TV or God knows what. Like, I don't know, whatever. Like, everybody go check out Fubo again. No, don't do that. They're not sponsoring this podcast. I'm not going to plug them. They don't deserve it. But yeah, that Fubo and TV is.
Wait on our Fubo checks,
dude. Yeah, they're all a mess. From the box office, Den of Thieves 2 walks away with a winning $15 million opening. I don't know anything about Den of Thieves, Andy. I didn't watch the first Den of Thieves, but then I saw the trailer of Den of Thieves 2 in front of the 7 IMAX, and it looked awesome. So I guess I can't be too surprised here. What do you know about this movie?
I know a little. I know it's too long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I've seen just that trailer again. Gerard Butler, he's like a cop, but he's broke, and so he turns into a bad cop to join in on this heist with O'Shea Jackson Jr. That's the gist of it. There's lots of action, shootouts, car chases, that whole kind of action film. It looks okay. It doesn't look super interesting to me, but it did walk away with The Weeknd. Came in number one at 15 million, so a big kind of surprise. But this part of the year is always kind of, it's a weak time because you've just had Christmas and Thanksgiving and all like those big holiday features, and now there's kind of a dearth of product, and people just, they're back to school, back to work, so studios don't really release a ton there. But we also have Mufasa and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in second and third place. Mufasa just crossed 500 million, and Sonic continues to do pretty well, passing 400 million. That's been doing really well. And Moana 2, which came in fifth place, is it's like $10 million away from being $1 billion movie. So it's right there. Those are having good legs from the Christmas releases.
Dude, Disney can do no wrong, especially during the holiday season. I got to stop making predictions around the House of Mouse. Just got to stop. I got to stop. I clearly do not understand the family quadrant as well as I probably should for how long we've done this show. I can't help it, man. Like, what do you want from me? I like the weird stuff, like Zone of Interest. Like, I'm into the bold cinema. And who could blame me? Like, these family features don't do a lot for adults, but my God, if they don't get it for the kids. And that's what's important. That's what Disney's making. It's kid stuff. Good for them. Like, just a couple of banger features back to back. I really did think Sonic 3 was going to do better than Mufasa, and it did at first. It did for a minute. There was a time when Sonic 3 was doing good, but it fell off pretty fast. Meanwhile, Mufasa has legs like you wouldn't believe. Clearly more than the Hedgehog. What happened? Just real quick. I know we don't have a proper article for this. What happened with Better Man? Better Man is bombing in the U.S. Let's talk about it for a second. What do you think's going on with Better Man? I guess we should tell people what Better Man is because they probably don't even know.
Yeah, to remind audiences and listeners, Better Man is a musical biopic about British pop icon Robbie Williams, who many people in the U.S. don't know. I was a little bit familiar with him, don't know any of his songs, but Better Man is his biopic, but they also made the strange, but kind of innovative choice that the lead character is played by a CGI monkey. And apparently it works. Apparently it's like, it works as a movie, and I've heard that it's pretty good and it's been recommended, but it's also, no one's going to see it because no one knows who Robbie Williams is. You know, like that's part of the draw of the musical biopic, is knowing who the artist is.
Yeah. And I think people are maybe general audiences are maybe a little scared by the CGI monkey. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's something like I don't know. Like, I don't mean to say my mom goes and watch musical biopics, but if she was looking at films to watch right now, she'd see that and be like, oh, not for me. Like, that's all it takes. Like, it doesn't take a lot to knock somebody off. And I hear it is stunningly sincere and emotional, and people like, it's actually super good. Total respect to that. I just feel like American audiences, like, we already saw Bohemian Rhapsody and we saw Rocket Man, and we've seen like the British, young British scrappy kid come up to be a pop star. Like, I don't know. I don't think that the CGI monkey does it. I know Michael Gracie, who directed it, did Greatest Showman. That made a ton of money. It's like $450 million off an $80 million budget. So it seemed like a big bet. I don't know, man. I hope it'll get it on streaming. Like, it seems like good art. Like, from what I hear, it's a good movie, but like, if you can't get people to turn out for it, you just can't get people to turn out for it.
Yeah. So it made just over $1 million, and it was acquired for $25 million by Paramount. So that's tough with them. And it's a $100 million movie because it's a lot of CGI. So I think it is doing better in the UK because they're familiar with that artist.
Yeah.
But it's bombing here.
Well, good. Hey, it seems like a really sincere picture. Like, I hope my man gets his flowers somewhere. Like, if not in the UK, then where else? So good. Like, I hope it goes somewhere. I really do. I think there's some talent behind it. I say that having not seen it. One more story I wanted to touch on here that we had on the outline. Wicked, Megan, big VOD sales, which I guess isn't a big surprise, but we got some hard numbers for you.
Yeah, Wicked. Got 70 million in VOD earnings, and the reason that's so big is that the studios keep a lot more of their money. The studios only keep about 50% of sales at theaters, but they keep up to 80% of VOD sales, which is why there was such a big push for things to go to VOD sooner, especially if it's doing badly, because then the studio can more easily recover its losses. So it's doing well, and it's crossed 700 million. So Wicked, huge hit of last year.
Yeah, huge hit. The follow-up, Wicked for Good, is going to be a banger for sure. Unless, I don't know, people start seeing it and they say it's terrible. But like, as far as I can tell, the Wicked community is doing better than ever before. People love it, man. TikTok's all about it. Like, people like Wicked, and good for them. These sing-along shows have been doing good. I don't know. The musical is alive and well, I guess. Yeah, go check out Wicked. And I guess I can't say I'm too surprised by the VOD sales. One of the things that surprised me about Wicked before we move off it was I remember talking a little bit about like the loose piracy around it, people filming clips of it for Instagram and TikTok and stuff in the theater and posting it. And I don't think Universal can do much about that, but it's been interesting. I can't remember the last time I saw so many clips from a movie like while it's still in theaters that are just filmed illicitly and posted on the internet. It's just kind of the way it goes. And like, it's not any kind of tentpole change, but it's interesting. And I wonder if we continue further into people getting excited about a movie and just filming right there in the theater, like where that may end up taking us. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, that's Wicked. That's Wicked. And we got to talk about our first film of the episode. I'm really excited to talk about this one. This is different and exciting. I've got a funny story about a couple who saw it in the theater behind me, who I don't know, but I overheard them talking about it at the end. That's it. Andy's taking the summary on this one. So Andy, please take it away.
The Last Showgirl. So this is a new film by Gia Coppola of the Francis Ford Coppola family. I'm not sure how she's related, but she's part of that. Written by Kate Gersten, which stars Pamela Anderson. There's had a lot of awards buzz around about her performance. The Last Girl stars, like I said, Pamela Anderson as Shelley, who is a Las Vegas showgirl. She's been doing the show for 30 years. She was a star of the 80s, and the dancers get noticed that the show's going to be wrapping in a couple of weeks. It's kind of old. It's a bit out of touch, like, hasn't really changed with the times. Everyone's devastated and trying to figure out, well, what are they going to do next? This is all I've done, not all I've ever known. We'll see. They try to audition for other things, see what other opportunities. And they're a nice little kind of found family. There's some younger dancers played by Brenda Song and Kiernan Shipka, who's in everything these days. That are these like 20 something dancers who are like kind of new to Las Vegas and just kind of making it work. But they hang out outside of work. They get kind of life advice. Jaimie Lee Curtis is also in it, as she's a cocktail waitress with a gambling problem, but who's a good friend of everyone involved. There's some family drama with Billy Lord as the daughter of Shelley's daughter, and some things there I'm not going to get into right now. And then Dave Bautista, of course, who shows up. He's kind of the lighting tech stagehand, but behind the scenes guy, who's the go-between between the higher ups and the dancers themselves. So that's our setup. And Pamela Anderson, for those who may not know, was a huge icon of the 90s, big sex symbol. She was on Baywatch, which was a lifeguarding show that had lots of slow motion people running on the beach. She was also in Home Improvement for like 7 seasons. So big star of the 90s, did a lot of TV, has not done a lot since then. And so a big kind of comeback out of nowhere. So that's our setup. Zach, what'd you think?
So I think The Last Showgirl is a good movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it's not for everybody. I think it's a little dreamlike in parts that I didn't expect, and maybe a little inconsistent, but ultimately, like, this story of this woman who has been just this absolute gem of beauty and grace her whole life, finding that, like, time has passed and things have changed, and like her position as that top star has fallen, and having to deal with that fallout is such a great role for Pam Anderson. It definitely feels a lot like Demi Moore in The Substance. Like, it's
Right.
the story of a woman who is still beautiful in nearly every way, but just not in the way that society wants or deems valuable. Like, and so she feels less valuable. It's strong, it's powerful. Anderson is given a brilliant supporting cast around her, full of talent. Everybody's doing a great job in this movie, which helps a lot because she is not the most up-to-date actress. It's been a minute. People are calling this a big comeback for her, right? Like most of her stuff has been pretty small lately. So it's really good to give her kind of this backing of like lots of talent and set her up as this kind of just big softy. Like her character's so soft and she's so sincere. And she makes mistakes and she's not perfect. And like that makes her feel so uniquely human in a story that's like intimate and small and thoughtful, set against the backdrop of a dusty and ever-changing Las Vegas Strip. Like I think Last Showgirl's good. I think it's a good movie. Though again, it's not without problems. So excited to talk about it. Where do you want to jump in?
I want to start with Shelley, Pamela Anderson's character. Different than I kind of anticipated. I'm not sure what I thought, but she brings this like optimistic naivete to the role where I mean things aren't looking good. This is kind of the only thing she can do, and she's about to be out of a job, but she's really optimistic, and she's like, no, they'll figure something out. The show's it's classic, everyone loves the show. They won't cancel it, and that's kind of how she approaches all of life. She's very optimistic about everything in somewhat of a naive way, but she also is just she's a dreamer. She's passionate about dancing. She loves to dance. She loves being able to have been a professional dancer her whole life. And like when she's at home, she watches old, black and white French dance films, and she mimics it. And so she has this passion for what she does. Whereas to everyone else, they're like, it's just a job. Like the young girls, Kieran and Shipka is like, this is a job. Like this pays the bills. That's why I'm doing this. And, Shelley's offended by this thought. So she has this passion. She's in love with this almost to a fault for sure. She is sacrificed people and other things to be able to kind of do this all her life. And I was really impressed by the performance and the kind of the character that we got.
Yeah, performances are incredible all around. Like I said, Pam Anderson is a little inexperienced, but her character is so soft and kind of has this like baby doll voice, and she's clearly very childish. Like her home is surrounded by her home is decorated with like the trappings of Las Vegas, these like ornate fixtures and wallpaper that like is kind of cheesy, but in the right setting, like feels like what she knows so well, which is like her workplace and Vegas and the Strip. And meanwhile, she's got like Barbie dolls around and like pictures of her when she was young. Like clearly somebody who's been living in this suspended state of reality out in Las Vegas where every night you're doing the show and it's kind of the same, and things have changed and things have moved around her. But Shelley is functionally resolute because she feels like this is my place. Like this is the place where I am valued and have talent and I am wanted and I am an essential part of La Razzle Dazzle, which is the show that you're doing in the film. Additionally, performances, Jaimie Lee Curtis is incredible in this movie. She's super good. I liked her more and more as the movie went on as the opposite like seesaw end of Shelley, like a woman who was kicked out of the show a few years ago and is now working as a cocktail waitress, and things are not going good and her spray tan's a little too dark, but also like she
it's a great character.
Yes, everybody in this movie is celebrated in their own way. Like she also gets a moment towards the end of the film where she gets to kind of like feel herself and be a unique shape in this place of Las Vegas where everybody starts to look the same. Dave Bautista is fantastic as this kind of head of the show who is genuinely moved by the fact that it's ending. Like honestly sees value in it as well. He's not just some faceless boss who's like, we're cutting the show off, we're figuring it out, good to see you later. No, he is genuinely moved and struggles to relate that emotion to the women in the show around him. Kieran Shipka, Brendan Song, fantastic. Billy Lord's a lot of fun. I think what's cool about about the show, about The Last Showgirl, is based on a thing that I saw. I share a little personal experience. So when I went to Vegas a while back, Chris and I went and saw this show called Jubilee, which was at the MGM Hotel, I think, or I don't remember which one. And it was exactly the show that La Razzle Dazzle is. It is a bunch of girls in giant glam and basically half nude and covered in rhinestones and doing like big historical set pieces throughout history. Like they had a whole Titanic set that came out. It was a whole thing. It's big motion. It's 50 topless dancers. That show ran for like 35 years and closed in 2016. And the woman who wrote this movie saw that show before it closed and wrote the screenplay that turned into this. It's based on that exact thing. It's based, and when I saw the show Jubilee, it was exactly what Razzle Dazzle is. It is dusty and old, but there's a bit of magic in it. When you actually watch it and you see all these performers, there's this part of like, you see this glimmer of like an older time, an older Las Vegas when this was valued more. And that's so present here in Shelley's story. Like, and this is presented brilliantly in the movie because you don't get to see a lot of La Razzle Dazzle. In fact, you see not much of it, but you see them prepping for it and getting ready for it. And it's all this great backdrop for asking the question, was it all worth it? Was it worth it to like spend your life dedicated to the show that now other people think is junk? Was it worth it to spend so much time like being the star of a show that other people don't perceive as valuable anymore? Maybe it was valuable. Maybe it never was. And Shelley is forced to face this on top of just losing her job and having to figure out what she's going to do as a woman with like no retirement, right? Like it's stressful and manages to be surprisingly funny in the wake of all that. I was surprised by how funny this script is.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedy intentionally and possibly unintentionally in the first half. For sure. And yeah, it's again, thematically, it's really strong. It's also dealing with, similar to The Substance, the pressure of youth and beauty on these women. Kiernan Shipka and Brenda Song, they're in their 20s, so they're getting lots of audition. You know, they're like, well, I'm auditioning for this, I'm auditioning for that, I got a call back for this. And like the older women, they're not getting any of that. And even then, they have to do completely different shows. There's a really funny bit where Kiernan Shipka does her routine to the show she tried out on. It's a very like super sexualized thing, and like Shelley is like aghast at it. She's like, I can't even look at you while you're doing this. But and same thing with Jaimie Lee Curtis's character Annette, who's she gets cut from the show floor as a cocktail waitress, and the younger women get to stay because they're deemed more beautiful and attractive for the guests. And so it's kind of wrestling with some of those same things that we get in The Substance. Also, Shelley's character is, again, it's about the sacrifice, because we learn that she's estranged from her daughter Hannah, played by Billy Lord, and part of the B plot is them working on their relationship, trying to repair years of neglect and just being more concerned with the show than with her family. So there's a lot going on in this movie for sure.
Yeah, and a really powerful scene when Lord confronts Anderson's character and was like, this was the reason, like you were off working instead of like spending time with me. Like it's tough, dude. Like it's definitely emotionally taxing. And it has a lot to say about being a mother and being a daughter and found family. There's a great scene with Kiernan Shipka when she comes to Pamela Anderson's door and is like, hey, I need help. And Anderson's got to deal with that in her own way. I'm surprised at the number of like fundamental flaws these characters have, but also like it kind of fits for these people who are out in the desert performing, who have left their families and left the people around them to go chase their dream out in Las Vegas. And while La Razzle Dazzle like can be seen as this like trashy show, at the same time, yeah, like Kiernan Shipka's character is going out for a show called Hedonist Circus, which is really funny. And doing like this alluring dance and I don't know. I love the way Anderson like shies away from that. Oh my God, I can never do a show like that. That's trashy and gross. And everybody's like, girl, look at what we're doing here.
Look at what we do. Yeah.
A lot of these plot sequences also are shot alongside these like interstitials of our characters kind of hanging out just in Las Vegas, like it's sunrise or sunset, and they'll be hanging out next to like the pyramid, like the Luxor and these pyramid things in front of the MGM hotel that like have this kind of ancient history vibe versus like walking by Excalibur, New York with the roller coasters and all this crazy stuff. Like all of this backdrop, they went out and shot in Vegas for a few days to film our characters in different outfits, outside smoking, like finding themselves alongside some music, and that stuff gets a bit dreamlike. And I think that may pull general audiences away a little bit. But I do think it's affecting. And honestly, steps on the gas in the right places, because there may be a scene that's like really sad or really a downer, and it'll step into like a couple of those with some good music and kind of get you into like a transition to the next scene. In parts, it feels a little piecemeal. It feels a little put together in editing. But in other parts, like it feels really sincere, and that's grounded by really great performances. Like for a small cast, they're all doing really good work in Last Showgirl. Gia Coppola knows how to get a performance out of her cast, I guess. Like she's on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to talk about one last thing. Was your screening a little out of focus from sometimes?
Oh my
Uh,
God.
be,
What lens was this movie shot with? You saw this too? We haven't talked about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Kinda, like a little bit. Tell me about it. What did you see?
So kind of when it first started, first of all, I think it's on 35 millimeter film because it's super grainy and
Yes.
which is fine. But then there were parts where everything was kind of out of focus, and I was about to get up and say something, find a projectionist or something, but then it would clear up. And then another scene would be a little out of focus. So it's definitely an artistic and stylistic choice. Again, it makes sense with kind of the dreamlike atmosphere and tone. But a couple of times I was like, "Is this out of focus? Why is this out of focus?"
Yes. So the first, at least the first half, I really noticed it, and then I stopped noticing it in Acts 2 and 3, which makes me think maybe I don't know if they shot this in order. I don't know what lenses they were using. They use some lens in like the first third of this movie that they'll use on occasion, which like the edges of the frame are so blurred. It's so blurry around the top and bottom and sides of the frame. The center is pretty much in focus, but if it's at all out of focus, it comes off looking wonky, and they do it a lot. There's this whole opening scene where like the girls all get together at Shelley's place and they're like having a cookout, and Bautista's character comes over, and a lot of that looks like it's almost out of focus. And then again, mentioning the film, there's a couple sequences where there's like literally a hair sticking in down into the frame that they didn't bother editing out. Like I saw it in one scene and couldn't look away from it. It's like during a pivotal scene when Pam Anderson's talking to Kieran Shipka's character or Billy Lord's character. They're having like this confrontation, and it's like there's just a hair sticking out of the bottom of the frame. And then there's another one where she's confronting Dave Bautista's character, and there's so much noise in the film they're running through. There's like scratches and like a little spot. I'm just like, what am I looking at here? And I think all of it is to make it feel older and indie and have some of that film grain to it. Like I get the stylistic choice, but like some of it feels like y'all couldn't have cleaned this up in editing. Y'all couldn't have After Effects this or something. And I don't know, like it seems like it's left in on purpose. And I the only reason I could think to do that is, I don't know, some like commitment to authenticity. I also noticed it was distracting, and that's a good point. I do think people might be distracted by that presentation. Makes you feel human for sure, but also like breaks the illusion a little bit. You're like, when I can't focus on what I'm seeing on screen, it doesn't help. But yeah, strange choice for The Last Showgirl. Regardless,
Yeah. So. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, just some interesting lens choices and way the film's portrayed for sure.
yeah. I do want to tell you the story of the people behind me, but for the folks on YouTube who may not want to hear it, I do want to just hop straight to recommendations, and then I'll tell you about it after. Any other thoughts on Last Showgirl for recommendations, Andy?
I'm ready.
Would you recommend The Last Showgirl?
Yeah, absolutely would. This was a little bit of a surprise. I've heard a lot of good things, and it really delivered. Pamela Anderson, this is like a career best performance. It's a real movie. It's a real role about chasing your dream, the cost of that, found family, what it means to be a woman, youth and beauty. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and it's 90 minutes. It's a quick watch, so highly recommend.
Yeah, same. I think Last Showgirl is super fun. It's not perfect. Like I said, I do think in Act 2, there's some of those kind of dream sequences that'll maybe push away more general audiences. But like the drama is real pulpy. It's not that sad. It seems like it'd be like a tragic downer going into it. It's not. I think it has more to say about hope and change and looking forward to what's next than dreading about what's behind us. Like, I think Pam Anderson's great. I think she needs to get more work. Everybody in this movie is good. I mean it. Everybody in this movie is good. The cast is all bangers. They're all great. They all have their moments. Would recommend. Last Showgirl's great. The thing I wanted to tell, the story about the people behind me before we jump into what we're looking forward to in 2025. Yeah, I tweeted about this earlier today. There was a couple behind me that I didn't know about till after the movie was over. And it's like, as soon as Last Showgirl hit credits, like the second it dimmed to black, the moment, like, and it's an emotional, for me, it was an emotionally affecting ending. I wasn't like tear jerked or anything, but like I was like, I was sitting in my silence. I was like, dude, that was nuts. I'm like thinking about what I'm going to tell the people I know who saw it. Like, dude, this movie's really good. And right behind me, I hear a guy say like, it didn't really have an ending. And then a girl next to him's like, what? And he's like, it didn't really like end. It didn't really like go anywhere. And she's like, what do you mean? And they start to have this conversation. It's a couple. And he's just kind of like, I thought it sucked. Like, that's just kind of it. It's like, it's not, the credits are just starting to roll. And he's like, he couldn't wait to tell her how bad it was. Like, it didn't go anywhere. And again, I think some of those dream sequences he might have gotten a little bumped off by, but she asked a couple questions about it and then just hits him with the most blunt, like, well, thank you for coming to my movie. And then they get up and leave. And I was like, oh, dude, that's such a bummer.
That's a bummer too, because it's definitely, it ends, and it's the kind of thing you just want to sit with for like 2 minutes. Like, let the credits roll, wash over you. Just
he couldn't wait to tell her how bad it was, and it was such a bummer because it's not a bad movie. That guy's just an idiot, and now he's never going to hear this. He's not gonna, whatever, guy. Like, you're fine. You're entitled to your own opinion, but man. Dude, come on. Like, let people sit with it for a minute. Like, let it simmer. Like, turn, check your tone at the door, my guy. Read the room. It was such a bummer. I waited through the rest of the credits, then got up, and there was like a woman sitting towards the back who had like Kleenex, dude. She was like torn up by the end of the movie. I was like, oh, dude, like, and this guy's like, that was terrible. It didn't go anywhere. I was like, oh, dude. Whatever. Anyway, we got to stop talking about Last Showgirl. It's a banger. Go check it out. What we need to talk about is what's coming up this next year. And it's a big year, dude. 2025 is a big year at the movies. I'm really excited to talk about it. Andy, what do we call this segment?
It's time for the death of cinema. So this is actually the life of cinema. We're going to be going over our most anticipated movies of 2025. We got a big list from Variety here. They have their kind of most anticipated 25. We're going to speed through them, and then we're going to give you our top 3 that we're really looking forward to. So I'm going to kick this off. First on this list is Wolfman, which actually comes out this week, January 17th, which is a werewolf story from Blumhouse, starring Christopher Abbott. This looks okay. Not super into it. We're seeing something else this weekend. Otherwise, I might check it out. It might be a streaming joint.
Yeah, it's a shame because like Invisible Man by Lee Wannell was really good, and Wolfman looks all right. I bet it ends up getting better reviews than I would think. Like, I didn't think Invisible Man would be that good, and it was actually a good time. So we'll see. We'll see. Next up in February, we got Captain America: Brave New World. Dude, I've seen 4 trailers for this movie. The trailers are cut really good, but I just feel like the movie inside of it does not look that exciting. It just looks like a political drama, right? Like, it looks fine. I don't know. I feel like I have to do my Marvel homework to see it. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, not super excited about it. I mean, Marvel's in big trouble, and this got pushed. It was supposed to come out last fall, and so it just feels like it's been waiting around forever. I'll be relieved when it comes out. Paddington in Peru.
How do we
sorry, we'll do every other one. Paddington in Peru comes out February 14th. This has already come out in the UK. I heard it's good, but I've heard it's not as good as the first 2 Paddington features. They do the thing where we got to send you abroad for the sequel because we're out of ideas. So that'll be good for the kids. Maybe a good date movie.
No Paul King directing. He went and did Wonka. It's a bummer. Hopefully it's a banger. Meanwhile, Mickey 17 coming out March 7th is the long-awaited Bong Joon-ho sci-fi thriller starring Robert Pattinson. We have not seen Bong Joon-ho since he did Parasite. Got to see Mickey 17. Warner Brothers just keeps pushing it back. I'm worried it's bad, and that's the reason they're pushing it around, but maybe not. Maybe it's weird and bold. What do you think, Andy?
I'm super excited about it. It actually got moved forward from April into March because it swapped dates with something else. So we're gonna be able to see it a month sooner. I'm super excited about it. Something I'm not excited about is Snow White, which is one of the big releases of March 21st. This is they've dropped the Seven Dwarves part. This stars Rachel Zegler from West Side Story. She's singing, she's dancing. She has a terrible bob haircut. This looks like it's a bomb. It looks like it's dead on arrival, but maybe it's something to see the kids.
Yeah, it looks like it's less in the line of live action Disney movies like, I don't know, Cruella or Little Mermaid, and more in the line of like Pinocchio and Lady and the Tramp, which are both direct to Disney streaming. It's fine. They made it. It's coming out. Additionally, a Minecraft movie is coming out April 4th. Not the Minecraft movie, a Minecraft movie, for those of us who can't handle the fact that there's probably going to be more than one of these. This movie looks terrible too, dude. Like, it does not look visually fun. But again, not for me, man. It's for kids. And kids will probably turn out for it. Minecraft movie will probably make $1 billion.
Yeah. It's in the category we call movies for babies. It'll do great. It'll be $1 billion franchise. We're gonna get 10 of these movies, no doubt.
Mm.
Something I am looking forward to is Sinners, which comes out on April 18th. This is the new film by director Ryan Coogler, who did the Creed films and Black Panther. This is a vampire horror thing taking place in kind of post World War II Jim Crow South. We don't know much about it. It has a very ambiguous trailer, so we haven't seen some more. But this looks really cool. And the word on the street is that they basically went and wrote their own Blade movies, and the MCU can't get around to actually doing Blade.
Yeah, I don't think that. Here's the thing: I haven't seen a lot about Sinners, so I can't say for sure whether or not it's going to be a banger. But I know Ryan Coogler doesn't miss, and so far Michael B. Jordan doesn't really miss either. So between the two of them, like I have no evidence to say this is going to miss. It seems like it's going to be a hit. Dude, Black Panther 2 rocked. It's an Academy Award nominated Marvel feature. Like Black Panther 2 is super good. So fingers crossed. Thunderbolts is coming out May 2nd. Thunderbolts with an asterisk, mind you. We don't know what it means. God willing, we never will. This is the Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, right? It's a bunch of villains, mostly that we know, rather than casting new folks. We've got Florence Pugh and David Harbour and Sebastian Stan and Wyatt Russell and a few others returning as, our hero villain miscreants who are going to do good after they've done a lot of bad, I guess. They're mostly heroes, I think. I think they're mostly heroes. What do you think about Thunderbolts, Andy?
I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, they're kind of anti-heroes. You got U.S. Agent, who's kind of like a bad Captain America. You have the Return of the Winter Soldier, Red Guardian, who we saw in the Black Widow film, and the new Black Widow played by Florence Pugh. This looks like a lot of fun. I've been impressed with the trailer and in the action. So I'm looking forward to it. That might breathe some new life into the MCU, but I feel like Marvel they don't know how to do solo films. They can only do team up films now. I feel like they've kind of lost, they just don't know how to do it anymore.
Yeah, well, same goes for their movies. Like, it can't just be Captain America this year. We got to put out two, right? Like one of them will do good for sure. Like that way, we'll have the movies team up. It's great.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning comes out May 23rd. It was it's supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 2. They renamed it because of filming delays. This is supposed to be, I think, the last Mission Impossible movie that Tom Cruise is going to do. As a big Mission Impossible head myself, who can tell you all the complicated lore, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll see some crazy stunts. The trailer has Tom Cruise hanging off the side of an airplane outside. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think I was a little harsh on Dead Reckoning. I definitely had some high hopes for it, and having feel those hopes mildly dashed by a movie that was fine, but it was ultimately part one of a two-part story. I'm very much looking forward to seeing if Final Reckoning can bring the thunder that I was looking forward to. And I probably need to revisit Dead Reckoning because there is a lot of cool stuff going on in that movie. Again, I was really hyped. I was way hyped. Just come off Top Gun. It seemed like Tom Cruise could do no wrong. It's fine. I need to go back and revisit Dead Reckoning. Looking forward to Final Reckoning in May. Same day, May 23rd, Lilo and Stitch, live action Disney. I think the millennials are skeptical, Andy. What about you? What do you think? I think it's live action Disney.
I'm not interested, but I'm sure it'll be great for the kids. Never
Good
rule
answer.
out the you got to take the kids to do something on the weekend, and that is Memorial Day. Karate Kid Legends May 30th, the following week. This is teaming up this has both Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, the original Karate Kid, teaming up. Saw a pretty cool trailer for this. Again, something for the little bit older kids. Not really excited about it myself, but I'm sure it'll be all right.
Yeah, Karate Kid Legends looks like it's more for the older folks and less for the kids, right? But I'm sure it'll do fine. Ballerina, coming out June 6th, which is the Ana de Armas John Wick movie, right? Coming off of John Wick Chapter 4, we got a spin-off into a different area. Ballerina, we already have a trailer for this. Wouldn't mind a bit of a tighter one. The action looks good, and the action's kind of a banger in John Wick, so I'm led to believe that Ballerina is going to be good, but we'll have to see. New director, I think. What do you know about it, Andy?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. It had a cool first trailer. It'll be interesting to see how it does as a spin-off of of the franchise. We will get some Keanu Reeves in it, probably not a ton. He's saying his new knees can't do it. He can't do the action stuff anymore, which happens. The man's almost 60. June 13th, we have Elio, which is the new film from Disney Pixar. It follows an 11-year-old boy who's beamed up by aliens and gets mistaken for their leader, which leads to hijinks and stuff. We haven't seen a lot about that, but it's an original, which is a big risk for Pixar. So we'll see kind of how that goes.
At this point, I've got my fingers crossed for every original coming out of any of these animation studios, and Elio's no different. I've seen a teaser. It doesn't look that exciting. We need a full trailer soon. We need to get these kids excited, because if you take kids to see it, they'll see it. It'll work, I think. That's at least what DreamWorks is banking on with How to Train Your Dragon coming out the exact same day, June 13th. Assuming it doesn't get pushed, How to Train Your Dragon is the live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon from 15 years ago, right? The DreamWorks feature. It looks nearly shot-for-shot remake. It's Dean DeBlois, who directed the original feature alongside Chris Sanders, who is not directing. I think he's executive producing this one. Big year for him, by the way, because Lilo & Stitch is also Chris Sanders' joint. So my man is just going back-to-back here in 2025, regardless. How to Train Your Dragon is, I think, one of my least anticipated. I just don't care to watch this again. Like, I've seen it, right? But I'm not who it's made for. It's made for children. What do you think, Andy?
I mean, we know that these direct live-action remakes can do really well. Look at Mufasa. And it's underperforming and still making a ton of money. I think this could be a $1 billion film, especially that weekend. I think How to Train Your Dragon's going to take that. I'm not super interested, but I think it will be successful. June 20th, we get 28 years later, the threequel, or actually it's kind of a reboot, the start of a new 28 Days Later universe where there's going to be 3 films, but 28 years later, which will take almost 28 years since the original film came out. This looks super spooky, has a really eerie trailer. I was really creeped out by it, so I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, more Aaron Taylor Johnson, please. If you didn't get enough of him in Kraven the Hunter, check him out in Nosferatu. I think he's good in that movie. A lot of people think he's bad in that movie. I think you're missing it, but that's just me. 20 years later looks like fun. F1 coming out June 27th. This is the follow-up from Joseph Kosinski, director of Top Gun Maverick. He's doing F1, which is like Top Gun, but in F1, right? The car racing spectacle. This stars Brad Pitt. I'm going to be honest. I've seen this trailer once or twice. It looks fine. I saw this trailer in IMAX in front of 7. It looks incredible. Dude, you got to go see this on a big screen. I was not super excited for F1. That IMAX trailer is so hot on a big IMAX screen. I am looking forward to F1 on the biggest screen I can find. Premium screens beware. What do you think, Andy?
I'm super excited for this too. Top Gun Maverick was like a roller coaster ride, literally, and this looks to do a similar thing, but in cars in F1, and they have cameras on the cars in front and back everywhere. They got drivers. It looks like a lot of fun. It's a total dad movie. Take him to see it. He'll love it. Megan 2.0 comes out June 27th, which is the sequel to M3gan, the first Megan that came out about a year and a half ago. That was a big sleeper hit. It was a fun little movie about a killer doll, the robot that comes to life and becomes murderous. A lot of fun, a lot of sassy memes. A lot of people will go like that's a hit. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, Megan was fun and campy and in exactly the way I think it needed to be for Blumhouse. Like, definitely worked great. I think Megan 2.0 is also going to work great. Like, seems like a banger. Universal's really banking on Jurassic World Rebirth coming out July 2nd. This is the Jurassic World reboot, kinda. I think it still takes place in the continuity of the most recent films, but I'm not sure. Yes, again, you're right. Banger cast, Ben Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali as a character with a really cool name that I can't recall right now, and it's directed by Gareth Edwards of Rogue One: A Star Wars Story and the creator. So big sci-fi vision. We'll see, man. I hope it. I don't know. I hope it's good. I don't know a lot about it. We haven't really got a full trailer. We got a teaser. It looks fine.
Dude, that's gonna make $1 billion. Like you put dinosaurs on screen, you're always gonna make money. Jurassic Park / Jurassic World always makes a ton of money. It is continuing the overall storyline, but it is kind of a new cast, so it's kind of a soft reboot, as they say these days. Then July 11th, this is what I'm so super super excited about for Superman, of course, James Gunn's first movie in installment in the new DC universe. Super excited by the trailer that came out we didn't talk about this on the show, but when that trailer came out, it was like when the Force Awakens trailer came out. Like, I set an alarm, I got up early, I was there, and it was an amazing trailer that got me super hyped and has been widely viewed and seen. And there's a lot of excitement behind this movie.
Yeah, Superman looks awesome. Most importantly, I think a lot of us are excited to see where DC's truly headed next, right? Like, now that they're under new leadership, this will be the first formal project in theaters out of them. James Gunn just wrapped Creature Commandos on HBO. Solid show, by the way. Animated, really good. Following Peacemaker, following Suicide Squad, his Guardians of the Galaxy films. Seems like the man can't miss. Seems like Superman also won't miss, but we're going to find out together when Superman comes out July 11th. I'm skipping the Smurfs movie, dude.
Yeah,
no one's anticipating. Get out of here. Smurfs movie July 18th. No comment. The Fantastic Four First Steps on July 25th. This is the other comic book movie that people are really anticipating. Another Marvel movie. That's 3 for 2025 at this rate, which is a lot. This stars Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Pedro Pascal, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as our Fantastic Four. It's 60s, John. I think anybody listening to the show, anybody's made it this far to this segment knows what we're getting into in Fantastic Four. Andy, what do you think?
We really need to see more. It's hard to tell. I mean, this was a huge casting thing, and again, Marvel seems to only be able to do team up films now. The Fantastic Four has been done twice before. Both iterations not really worked. This could be the one. This could be different. And I've heard that this is probably going to get pushed to the fall because there was another Marvel film that's where Blade was supposed to come out, and since that's not happening, it's widely rumored that this will come out in the fall, but we'll see. I'm going to skip this next Paul Thomas Anderson film because it's actually been pushed a year. Freakier Friday on August 8th, a sequel / reboot of Freaky Friday with Jaimie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. They made a version in 2004. They've come back to do it again 20 years later. I'm sure that'll be fine.
I need to give both of these women their flowers, I guess, in their own way. Lindsay Lohan's been doing a lot of work on Netflix. People say is good. Jaimie Lee Curtis, meanwhile, won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And typically when you win an Oscar, you kind of back off a little bit and take it easy. My girl's only taken weirder roles. Like Last Showgirl, I think is more like than Everything Everywhere was. And this also is probably going to be something that's nostalgic. Obviously, people kind of know her and her character from the original movie, but like she seems to really be stepping out, and I think that's a good thing. So I think I'm looking forward to this more since I saw Showgirl. Freakier Friday. It'll be all right, I'm sure. The Bride, September 26th. Yeah, that Maggie Gyllenhaal Frankenstein adaptation, right? Starring Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster and Jessie Buckley, who's going to portray the bride. It's in 1930 Chicago. It aims to twist the Frankenstein story on its head, and I thought it was a musical, and now I'm not sure because I can't see anything that says that. Do you know, Andy? I can't recall.
I don't. I think this is going to Netflix. So this is one of 2 Frankenstein projects, and one of them is going to Netflix. I can't remember which one.
Probably Guillermo del Toro's, right? My man, because he's working on
probably.
Netflix. I think he's working on a Frankenstein joint. His last movie was Netflix. Pinocchio, yeah.
So we'll see. I'll definitely check it out. Love Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I'm interested to see what Christian Bale does. And this is kind of and Jessie Buckley as well. She's a fantastic actress. On October 3rd, we get the musical biopic of Michael Jackson entitled Michael. I forget who they've already cast the person. That's going to be a huge one.
Again, Jackson. Yeah.
Thank you. Again, familiarity matters. This is going to be a huge movie, no matter how much you do or don't like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is almost bigger than anyone is today. I mean, it's like Beyonce was probably the closest thing, but just unbelievable, huge pop star, mired in controversy at times. That's going to be a massive movie.
Yeah, Anton Fuqua directing from Training Day. Jafar Jackson is done a little bit of work, but not much. He's kind of got to put the movie on his shoulders. And notably, Coleman Domingo playing Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's father. Love Coleman Domingo. So Sing Sing, right, from May 24. Hopefully a banger. Tron Ares is coming out October 10th. Dude, they're making another Tron movie, right? 15 years after Tron Legacy blasted into theaters. This film stars Jared Leto as Ares, digital programmer challenged to join the real world. Evan Peters is also in the film. I hear Greta Lee is in it, and Jeff Bridges reportedly from the original. Does not feature soundtrack by Daft Punk. Does not feature I forget the name of the director, but he hasn't done anything particularly exciting. It could be a breakout, but it doesn't. It seemed like it's got. I'm a little skeptical. I don't know. We'll see. I need to step off my high horse. Tron Legacy was not a perfect movie, but boy, I sure did like that score.
I'll have to wait and see. I was kind of lukewarm on Tron Legacy. This is a reboot. I'm sure it'll kind of continue, but they're hoping to kind of reboot that into a franchise or something like that. The Black Phone 2, a sequel to The Black Phone, which we did review on the show a couple years ago, about a child who was kidnapped, and this kind of supernatural. He gets phone calls from the beyond supernaturally, while examining other kind of social issues. Interested to see what that'll be like.
I'm just going to skip one here and jump to Begonia on November 7th. This is Yorgos Lanthimos' new feature, starring Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, similar to his last movie, Kinds of Kindness. It's a science fiction comedy film that follows two young men who believe that a prominent CEO is an alien or an extraterrestrial being that's intent on destroying the planet, so they kidnap her with disastrous results. That's all we know. It seems exciting, and Yorgos Lanthimos' last couple in theater were a lot of fun. Poor Things was a lot of fun. Kinds of Kindness is a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, he always brings that freakness that, like, no, maybe doesn't work for everyone. So I'm looking forward to that. November 7th, we have The Running Man, which is a remake of the 1987 film based on a book by Stephen King. This is starting the great Glenn Powell. So we'll see what that's like, directed by Edgar Wright. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
I am looking forward to Edgar Wright's next feature as well. I was a big Edgar Wright fan during his Cornetto trilogy stuff with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Really liked Baby Driver. Did not really get Last Night in Soho, and I've since rewatched it, and I think I like it a little bit more, but not much. Didn't really do it for me.
Movie's got problems, yeah.
This is looking like a lot more of a banger, and most importantly, like we know that Edgar Wright can get action down, so I'm not worried about that. I'm hoping Glenn Powell brings something to it. Wicked for Good is coming out November 21st. We talked about this earlier in the show. Basically all but guaranteed to be a winner, right? Like Warner Brothers has something really special in their hands. Looks great.
Yeah, the hype behind Wicked is undeniable. That it might be $1 billion film. Zootopia 2 also coming out on November 26th. That's fine. Judy Hopps, ACAB, but take the kids. I'll say that every time. I'd love that.
You're right. I agree. Hey, yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, Zootopia 2 looks fine. Also for the kids, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 on December 5th. I'm sure it's fine, right? Five Nights at Freddy's.
Do this next one, Zach.
Oh, yeah, Avatar, Fire and Ash, baby, on December 19th. I'm honored to talk about this one. We have been Avatar skeptics on this show. Some of us have. I have an Avatar poster behind me, actually. And Avatar, Fire and Ash, I think, is probably going to continue down the line where Avatar 2 went, and that we're going to think it's not that good, and then it comes out, and it's probably good, dude. Like, Avatar 2 was a lot of fun, made a ton of money. I'm assuming this is going to be the same way, right? Premium screens, beware. You want to see this one on as big a stage as possible. But pay for the D-Box for Avatar, Fire and Ash, right? Get the seats that move.
I'm definitely, in a change from the second one, I am looking forward to this. James Cameron never disappoints. And we're going to be getting some kind of evil Na'vi, some like Fire Nation that's going to be wreaking havoc, something like that. That's all we know. So I'm definitely looking forward to it for a change. We're also getting the SpongeBob movie on December 19th. And then we have some things that don't have dates yet, but still wanted to talk about. Zach, take us there. Take us on.
The Thursday Murder Club? I don't know anything about this movie.
No, skip that. Skip that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah, this is a great one. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Man, you give me all the good ones, Andy. Yes, this is the third entry in Rian Johnson's Knives Out trilogy, starring Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. Very excited to see this one. I bet this one gets the same theatrical treatment that Netflix gave Glass Onion, which is like 1 week in theaters for awards, and that's it. It just goes straight to the service. If you have the means, we were talking about it early. We will talk about it when it comes up. I know it's probably coming out end of the year. It's not yet dated. Go see this one in the theater. I know it'll be in there for a week. Glass Onion rocked in the theater. Like I know you can watch it on Netflix and it's easy, but like it was a great experience. Really looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, looking forward to this as well. Daniel Craig again is incredible as Benoit Blanc. There's always a big all-star cast. This time around, we're including Kaylee Spaney, Kerry Washington, Josh Brolin, Josh O'Connor, Mila Kunis, Andrew Scott, Jeremy Renner, Daryl McCormick, Glenn Close, Thomas Hayden Church, and Annie Ham. I mean, just huge cast. A lot of characters. And last one I'll talk about is Frankenstein, which is Guillermo del Toro doing an adaptation. I think a more direct adaptation to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, different from Maggie Gyllenhaal's Frankenstein movie, which seems to be kind of a different kind of adaptation, not a direct thing of the book. So he never disappoints. So I'll be looking forward to that as well.
All of this is to say that 2025 is setting up to be quite a stacked year at the movies. And 2024 has been really good. I know we're not quite back to pre-COVID numbers as far as the box office is concerned, but between films like F1 and 28 Years Later and Sinners and Avatar, Fantastic Four, Mission Impossible, Michael, like there's clearly a lot of exciting stuff coming out. And that's only the stuff we have relatively firm dates for. Things are subject to move and change in this industry, but I got to know, Andy, what's top three? Top three most anticipated. What do you got?
So I got at number 3, Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's sci-fi film starring Robert Pattinson. Knives Out 3, which we just talked about, Rian Johnson's trilogy starring Daniel Craig. And then, of course, James Gunn's Superman starring David Corenswet, Nicholas Hoult, and Rachel Brosnahan. I'm so excited. I feel like there's going to be so much hype for that movie this summer.
Top 3 most anticipated for me are Begonia at number 3. I got to see what Yorgos Lanthimos is doing next. Again, the man doesn't miss. Seemingly cannot miss. And how could I not go see that? Mickey 17's number 2 for me. Dude, Parasite rocks. Somebody got me the Parasite 4K for Christmas. Shout out to you. You know who you are. Yeah, man. Parasite's a good time. I can't wait to watch Mickey 17. Robert Pattinson being weird. Superman's number 1. I think my most anticipated film of the year is still Superman. I got to know where this whole DC universe is headed. I gotta get back inside James Gunn's mind and find out more. Again, the guy just can't not make a hit, seemingly. Like, I would be stunned if Superman comes out and it's bad. It's stunned. Like, it seems like it is all but guaranteed to be good. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it's great. That's 2025. Good Lord, what a segment. We always figure out ways to make segments a little faster and tighter in the future. And I think next year we'll probably figure out a way to do them. Yeah, 3 months or something. When we were skipping the Smurfs movie and Predator Badlands in there, I knew we were getting down to it. But otherwise, at big year at the movies, any reflections on what's coming next before I jump into Wallace and Gromit?
I mean, a lot of sequels, a lot of familiar properties, comic book stuff. It's, comic book fatigue is definitely here. So we'll have to see how then particularly the MCU stuff fares. DC, I think, is going to be okay. And then just a lot of the other pictures, just seeing what audiences latch on to it, what trends happen, global like politics a lot of times affect the movies, and so you just never know. That's the one thing that they say about this business. No one knows anything. So but a good year, a lot of stuff coming out now that we're a couple of years past the writer strikes and actor strikes. So a ton of stuff to see this year.
Just like 2024, Andy and I are going to stay on it. So we do here on Off Script, right? We watch movies that are coming up, talk about things, dates moving around. We'll keep you posted. So if you want to, keep up with all that stuff, just hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep you posted when it comes up. You can hit the notification bell. Wait a second, I do plugs at the end. We got one more review to talk about. But if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe. Please, God, please subscribe. Anyway, yes, one more film to talk about. It's going to be Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl. And I'm going to be taking the summary on this one, so please excuse my clumsy delivery. This is Vengeance Most Fowl. So, Wallace and Gromit are back in another big adventure from Aardman Animation. Director Nick Park and Merlin Crossingham are here to give us Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl, a new tale, feature length of our famed inventors, Wallace and his trusty dog Gromit, who've developed a new technology, a new something to help them out, right? Things around the house. A gnome called Norbot, a smart gnome, right? Not unlike a smartphone, that can take care of all our needs, right? Can do everything you need. You don't have to garden Gromit because Norbot will take care of it, right? And he'll do it the way he wants, the way it's supposed to be, sort of a brutalist architecture. But everything goes wrong, of course, when Norbot gets hacked by Feathers McGraw, the famous penguin wearing a gloved chicken head hand from the wrong trousers, right? A previous Wallace and Gromit feature. This is a direct sequel, which they don't often do. Usually these things are pretty independent. And Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl does a great job of setting that up and telling us who Feathers McGraw is and why he is such a dangerous penguin, even though he appears to be so cute. He, like Gromit, does not talk. Animals don't really talk in the Wallace and Gromit movies. But Norbot does, and Wallace does. And when Norbot gets hacked, he develops an army of other Norbots who will help people around the community with everything they're doing. And maybe also help secretly help Feathers McGraw escape and get that blue diamond he was so seeking in the wrong trousers all those years ago. Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl is entirely stop motion, except for a bit of computer animation on the top. It's funny, like the claymation in these films is not quite like the stop motion you see from Laika. It's much more like tangibly stop motion. You can see the fingerprints on the clay and you can see the hairs and little things. And while Aardman does a great job of cleaning that up, they're very dedicated to this old style, to what got them started, and making sure that Wallace and Gromit feels much more like those previous films did. Last time we saw them was Curse the Were-Rabbit. I think they did a baking thing. Regardless, there's been a couple video games. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl. Andy, what'd you think?
So this was a lot of fun. I haven't actually seen one of these all the way through, but it's such a popular brand that I know the look, and I've seen the animation before. I was really surprised. It's a lot of fun, and it's also about something different. It's called Vengeance Most Foul, so I thought the whole thing was going to be about Feathers McGraw, but that's really kind of the B plot. It's mostly about these gnomes that get hacked and kind of start terrorizing the neighborhood and the city, and kind of has something to say about technology, and that technology is in the eye of the beholder, the use of the beholder for good or for evil. And it's a lot of fun. I didn't realize how much kind of action and adventure would be in there. It's like we have these crazy car chases and a lot of fun with the gnomes. And it's also so self-serious sometimes in a really fun way. When we have these prison scenes of like Feathers McGraw planning his escape and escaping, it's serious. It's like it reminds me of the Shawshank Redemption. It's like super serious. He's dead set about this, and he's trying to reclaim a diamond that he stole. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of action, definitely something that for the kids, but that will keep them entertained, but that is a lot of fun, and there's nothing like nasty in it, and it's it's a 75-minute watch, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the runtime definitely doesn't hurt it. And being on Netflix is a help too, because kids can watch it. It's easy, right? You don't have to take them to the theater, but then it'd be like, what's the stop motion junk? And for what it's worth, I think this movie is an incredible looking stop motion movie. Like Aardman clearly is not messing around. They're putting it all into a feature film. It looks fantastic. The lighting in this movie is stunning. It's one of those stop motion features where after just a minute, you forget that everything you're watching is meticulously and painstakingly placed by hand and shot frame for frame, one after another. Like, I can't imagine the process that goes into making this stuff. They have museum exhibits. Aardman has a museum exhibit about how they do this stuff. It's so fascinating. So like, it truly is a bit of light and magic, like to see a movie in this presentation that's not just animated. And it's cool because thematically it has something to say about that. Like previous Wallace and Gromit adventures are pretty independent. Curse the Were-Rabbit doesn't say a whole lot about rabbits or animals. It's just Wallace and Gromit happen to be animal control guys that week. That's just their invention. They invented a thing that can suck up rabbits. That's what goes on in that movie. And then like that baking one, there's like a Bake-A-Lite girl who used to be cool, and then Wallace falls for her and they have a bit of a romance fling, and then it turns out she's anti-dog and doesn't like Gromit. Like those are just kind of their own thing. This one specifically has something to say about technology, like you said, and the new versus the old. Gromit wants to prune his garden by hand. Norbot can do the whole thing really fast, but it's like cheapened and it's not human and it's not like unique. It's not special. It doesn't have like the flair of natural. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it's like simple. And this is a clever thing for adults, right? Like I think a lot of good kids movies also work for adults. It's a clever theme because the film's stop motion. It could have been CGI. They could have just been DreamWorks or Pixar and just done it that way, right? But specifically going to the trouble to make a labor of love out of an old-fashioned methodology is a unique theme for a film that is a labor of love made out of an old-fashioned methodology. We're watching stop motion and they're talking about like really the value of doing things the old way and how there's nothing wrong with doing it new. But Wallace and Gromit have that funny back and forth. Wallace, the inventor, it's got to be the new hot thing. It's what people want. Gromit's like, take it slow, guy. Like let's take it easy. And all of this is told in like such a uniquely British fashion that you'd liken to probably something like Paul King's Paddington, right? Super British, really funny, like really goofy vibes, like out of a pomp and proper neighborhood. And you've got these wonderful inspectors in the film, Chief Inspector McIntosh and PC Mukherjee, who are both really funny names. Feathers McGraw is a delight. Like it's always impressive how many visual jokes they can get out of this medium. It's always impressive how funny you can get a movie to be out of, what should be just children's claymation. Like it shouldn't be that good, but it's like witty, it's smart, it's sharp, it's great.
Yeah, there's a moment where the invention kind of takes off and all the neighbors are like, oh, I want one of those gnomes too, so that I don't have to cut in my yard. And everyone just like blindly signs up for it. And then like all that kind of goes wrong. And that's definitely pointing at issues in the real world with technology, where a lot of people just sign up for things or hand over all their information without really waiting and kind of exploring a technology and that sort of thing. So it has a lot to say. It's not anti-technology. It's more about like technology is that something that we need to be responsible with and that can be used for both good and evil.
Yeah, a couple other points. Great soundtrack. The scores by Lorne Balfe, who I know did a lot of the music for Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed video game series. It's great. Big orchestra stings, funny. They incorporate the Wallace and Gromit theme a few times in really funny ways. There's a bit where like Wallace is really down about something. He's sitting at a piano, like playing it solemnly off key, which is really funny. I don't know if they've ever done that in these movies. Visuals are fantastic. Oh, the big train sequence I wanted to talk about briefly. Like the Wrong Trousers, Wallace and Gromit film features what I think is probably one of the great train sequences in cinema. Like it genuinely, it's this small train set where Gromit and Wallace chase Feathers McGraw in their home to try to get this diamond from him. And this train set's like humming along this rail. It's this whole high speed thing, even though it's toys. It's very funny and very kinetic. It's a great looking sequence. And so I figured this has Feathers McGraw in it. We're back to the Blue Diamond plot. Surely the ending of this film will also feature some kind of great sequence or something. And it's actually really smart what they do. It's clever and it kind of works in the same way with these long cars, but in a different format that is good and effective and works and still actually does end up featuring a train now that I think about it. So great. And it feels like a great send up of what came before. It doesn't feel like it steps on anything. You could watch it independently and it would work. Does encourage you to go back and visit that older stuff. And I think it's a good thing. Like it's a solid Wallace and Gromit movie. Like thank God it's not boring. Thank God it's not dull. Thank God you're not sitting there wondering when it's going to be over. Like for a 75-minute watch, works really efficiently.
Last thing I wanted to mention is that the gnomes are actually kind of scary. They're kind of creepy, especially once they get taken over and they're kind of up to no good. Yeah. I was like, man, this might be a little creepy for kids. So definitely, your kids best, but just there might be some stuff that creeps them out if you're not careful.
The other Wallace and Gromit film that I wasn't thinking of, I just got it before we wrap this up. A Matter of Loaf and Death was the other one, which was like almost like a short. I don't think it's quite feature length. That one's actually got a couple frightening sequences in it too, which is surprising. One of them's like kind of a nightmare that turns out to be that Gromit's having. I like when stop motion gets creepy. It's good. rattle the kids a little bit. All right. Help them out. Helps them grow. Like, so I'm a fan. Norbot's just a little bit creepy. Not too bad. Good for the whole family, man. I think it's a recommend. So I got to ask Andy, would you recommend Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great watch. It's a lot of fun. Good for the kids. Good for adults. It's short at 75 minutes. It's a quick watch. Has a lot to say, surprisingly, about the good and bad of technology and how we need to be responsible for that. A lot of fun. Highly recommend.
Yeah, same. I think this movie is super good. I like it a lot. Well, I mean, if you haven't heard me gushing about it for the past 10 minutes, yeah, Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Fowl rocks. I think it is a fine Wallace and Gromit entry. I think this series is going to run as long as Nick Park can let it, right? Like, and I think it's good. I think it's a banger. Also, great voice work by newcomer. I think his name's Ben Whitehead is his name, who handles Wallace. Probably wouldn't even know it's a new voice actor. Rest in peace to his previous voice actor, whose name is eluding me right now, which is awful. But we got to wrap the show. That's the end. That's the end of Off Script episode 278. My God, Andy, we're already here. And most anticipated segment, we're a little long, but otherwise we did really good, I think. It's a pretty good time. What are we watching next week?
We're going to be speaking of long, we're going to be taking a look at The Brutalist, which is the new film from Brady Corbet, starring Adrian Brody. It's had a lot of awards buzz. It is like 3.5 hours long with like a 15-minute intermission. So it's a long one, but we're going to do it for Bold Cinema. We're also going to be taking a look at A Real Pain, which is the film starring, written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, or also stars Kieran Culkin, about a pair of estranged cousins who come together and meet after the death of a family member and take kind of a heritage tour of Poland, and visit Warsaw and some concentration camps. And it's kind of a comedy, but there's obviously some very serious elements to it as well. And that's available on Hulu or VOD. And just one FYI release, Wolfman opens this Friday on January 17th as well, if you're interested in that.
I do think we'll end up getting around to Wolfman at some point, though not immediately. Brutalist is a really long time coming, dude. And long time, like, I guess pun intended. It really is going to be like watching two feature-length movies. I'm pretty sure it's like an hour 45 and then an intermission and then 2 more hours, which is like... It's a lot, but we're going to cover it. And not only we're going to review that intermission too. I can't remember the last time I watched a movie with an intermission. I'm stoked. And get up, get a refill, go to the bathroom, maybe chat up a couple strangers about what we've seen so far. It's going to be great. And then Real Pain will be fun. It's going to be on Hulu, soft, hopefully soft, but an easy watch at home. You guys can watch along and then listen next week if you like. We'll tell you how it is regardless. No spoilers aren't on script. We don't do that. But what we do is thank you for listening. And thank you for watching. And thank you for hanging out with us as long as you have. Best way you can keep up with us and what we got going on is subscribe to Off Script on your favorite platform. We're on YouTube. We got big things going on YouTube, man. Come check us out over there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the usual social media places. You can follow us over there. Audio listeners, we are on Spotify, Google Play, iHeartMedia, and iTunes, of course. The big numero uno. Things are going great over there as well. You can rate and review on your favorite podcast outlet. That moves us up. That helps the algo. That moves the ranking to position us as the thing that is going to be a big thing. I think I don't actually know how the podcast ranking stuff works, but what I do know is that we like doing this show and we like talking about movies, and we're going to keep doing it. So tune in next week for episode 279. We're talking about Brutalist and A Real Pain. I got to get out of here. Thank you so much, Andy, for recording for all of this Off Script, the home of Bold Cinema. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for listening.